Development cooperation has always been a priority for the OAS. The OAS SETI works with all member states to identify common challenges and define solutions through policy dialogue, which is transformed into action through technical cooperation initiatives. Policy dialogue is central to our work in development. The OAS SETI convenes development leaders in 11 ministerial meetings and high-level processes on priority areas such as competitiveness, labor, education, among others. Technical cooperation initiatives emerge from ongoing dialogue and are therefore established with built-in political support. All of our actions place people at the center, generating a multiplier effect in the region. We enhance human capacity by working with key stakeholders. This strengthens institutions, improving policies and programs, benefiting millions of people in the Americas. Our ability to deliver results relies on broad collaboration. Partnerships for Development, Cooperación Solidaria, is a unique OAS concept which recognizes that each member state, regardless of its size, wealth, or level of development, has value to share and can learn from others. This concept also includes close collaboration with other partners, amplifying our reach and impact. As we mark 70 years of work on development, we take a look back. This long evolution, driven by member states, has fine-tuned our unique model to support inter-American development. Today, all of our efforts fall into 5 strategic priorities: inclusive and competitive economies, sustainable development, education and human development, decent work for all, development cooperation, and partnerships. These are aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals and the regional attainment of the 2030 Agenda. These priorities are also areas where the OAS SETI has extensive experience and proven impact. We have come a long way. but still have much work to do. "70 years ago, an inter-American dream and promise was enshrined in the OAS Charter. We can deliver on this promise. Our future leaders are counting on us."
Me and my kids have been there for over an year right now. And children are friends. It doesn't matter where they come from.
Por un lado, trabajamos la cultura de paz, con actividades culturales, con actividades artísticas, como se puede ver, con música como está sonando, pero también por nuestra propia presencia, porque somos básicamente una organización que trabaja el concepto de paz de manera activa, y acá se puede ver de forma tangible. Nosotros estamos en una zona netamente selvática. La línea de adyacencia va desde el norte hasta el sur, va desde Modesto Méndez hasta Aguas Turbias, tanto en el norte como en el sur. Esta línea tiene 215 kilómetros de extensión.
De ahí vino él, se buscó creo con los de la OEA y de ahí vino el proyecto para acá, para Judá. Y fue que los dieron el terreno y los dieron todo que era mano de obra y el material para hacer las casas que están ahorita. Y por ese motivo estamos aquí viviendo todavía.
We make small advances from day to day, whether it's organizing community contacts across the adjacency line, teaching music, building a school, or coordinating between the two countries' armed forces. We are constantly present, working on the implementation and execution of confidence-building measures. With the support of the OAS, we truly believe that Belize and Guatemala are closer than ever to finding a permanent solution to their centuries-old conflict.
Children will be children, and they have harmony. They don't see each other as a different country, but they see each other that they're growing together.
Esta organización es el guardián regional en defensa de la democracia, la libertad y los derechos humanos. Los países se han comprometido con estos valores a través de instrumentos legales como la Carta Democrática Interamericana, la Convención Americana de Derechos Humanos y todas las demás convenciones interamericanas. Nuestro trabajo es mantener los más altos estándares. Debemos ser objetivos, analizar los hechos, denunciar cuando veamos corrupción, inequidad o amenazas a la libertad. En esos casos, no podemos ser neutrales.
More than 100 years since the inauguration of this building, the OAS headquarters, our institution still brings together the peoples of the Americas to address our responsibilities as a partnership of nations. As we look to the future, our work must also focus on the construction of a positive agenda that continues to favorably impact millions of lives every day.
Development cooperation has always been a priority for the OAS. The OAS SETI works with all member states to identify common challenges and define solutions through policy dialogue, which is transformed into action through technical cooperation initiatives. Policy dialogue is central to our work in development. The OAS SETI convenes development leaders in 11 ministerial meetings and high-level processes on priority areas such as competitiveness, labor, education, among others. Technical cooperation initiatives emerge from ongoing dialogue and are therefore established with built-in political support. All of our actions place people at the center, generating a multiplier effect in the region. We enhance human capacity by working with key stakeholders. This strengthens institutions, improving policies and programs, benefiting millions of people in the Americas. Our ability to deliver results relies on broad collaboration. Partnerships for Development, Cooperación Solidaria, is a unique OAS concept which recognizes that each member state, regardless of its size, wealth, or level of development, has value to share and can learn from others. This concept also includes close collaboration with other partners, amplifying our reach and impact. As we mark 70 years of work on development, we take a look back. This long evolution, driven by member states, has fine-tuned our unique model to support inter-American development. Today, all of our efforts fall into 5 strategic priorities: inclusive and competitive economies, sustainable development, education and human development, decent work for all, development cooperation, and partnerships. These are aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals and the regional attainment of the 2030 Agenda. These priorities are also areas where the OAS SETI has extensive experience and proven impact. We have come a long way. still have much work to do. "70 years ago, an inter-American dream and promise was enshrined in the OAS Charter. We can deliver on this promise. Our future leaders are counting on us."
Me and my kids have been there for over an year right now. And children are friends. It doesn't matter where they come from.
Por un lado, trabajamos la cultura de paz, con actividades culturales, con actividades artísticas, como se puede ver, con música como está sonando, pero también por nuestra propia presencia, porque somos básicamente una organización que trabaja el concepto de paz de manera activa. Y acá se puede ver de forma tangible.
Nosotros estamos en una zona netamente selvática. La línea de adyacencia va desde el norte hasta el sur, va desde Modesto Méndez hasta Aguas Turbias, tanto en el norte como en el sur. Esta línea tiene 215 kilómetros de extensión.
De allí vino él, se buscó creo con los de la OEA y de allí vino el proyecto para acá, para Judá. Y fue que los dieron el terreno y lo dieron todo que era mano de obra y el material para hacer las casas que están ahorita. Y por ese motivo estamos aquí viviendo todavía.
We make small advances from day to day, whether it's organizing community contacts across the adjacency line, teaching music, building a school, or coordinating between the two countries' armed forces. We are constantly present, working on the implementation and execution of confidence-building measures. With the support of the OAS, we truly believe that Belize and Guatemala are closer than ever to finding a permanent solution to their centuries-old conflict.
Children will be children, and they have harmony. They don't see each other as a different country, but they see each other that they're growing together.
Esta organización es el guardián regional en defensa de la democracia, la libertad y los derechos humanos. Los países se han comprometido con estos valores a través de instrumentos legales como la Carta Democrática Interamericana, la Convención Americana de Derechos Humanos y todas las demás convenciones interamericanas. Nuestro trabajo es mantener los más altos estándares. Debemos ser objetivos, analizar los hechos, denunciar cuando veamos corrupción, inequidad o amenazas a la libertad. En esos casos no podemos ser neutrales.
More than 100 years since the inauguration of this building, the OAS headquarters, our institution still brings together the peoples of the Americas to address our responsibilities as a partnership of nations. As we look to the future, our work must also focus on the construction of a positive agenda that continues to favorably impact millions of lives every day.
Development cooperation has always been a priority for the OAS. The OAS SETI works with all member states to identify common challenges and define solutions through policy dialogue, which is transformed into action through technical cooperation initiatives. Policy dialogue is central to our work in development. The OAS SETI convenes development leaders in 11 ministerial meetings and high-level processes on priority areas such as competitiveness, labor, education, among others. Technical cooperation initiatives emerge from ongoing dialogue and are therefore established with built-in political support. All of our actions place people at the center, generating a multiplier effect in the region. We enhance human capacity by working with key stakeholders. This strengthens institutions, improving policies and programs, benefiting millions of people in the Americas. Our ability to deliver results relies on broad collaboration. Partnerships for Development, Cooperación Solidaria, is a unique OAS concept which recognizes that each member state, regardless of its size, wealth, or level of development, has value to share and can learn from others. This concept also includes close collaboration with other partners, amplifying our reach and impact. As we mark 70 years of work on development, we take a look back. This long evolution, driven by member states, has fine-tuned our unique model to support inter-American development. Today, all of our efforts fall into 5 strategic priorities: inclusive and competitive economies, sustainable development, education and human development, decent work for all, development cooperation, and partnerships. These are aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals and the regional attainment of the 2030 Agenda. These priorities are also areas where the OAS SETI has extensive experience and proven impact. We have come a long way. but still have much work to do. "70 years ago, an inter-American dream and promise was enshrined in the OAS Charter. We can deliver on this promise. Our future leaders are counting on us."
Me and my kids have been there for over an year right now. And children are friends. It doesn't matter where they come from.
Por un lado, trabajamos la cultura de paz, con actividades culturales, con actividades artísticas, como se puede ver, con música como está sonando, pero también por nuestra propia presencia, porque somos básicamente una organización que trabaja el concepto de paz de manera activa, y acá se puede ver de forma tangible.
Nosotros estamos en una zona netamente selvática. La línea de adyacencia va desde el norte hasta el sur, va desde Modesto Méndez hasta Aguas Turbias, tanto en el norte como en el sur. Esta línea tiene 215 kilómetros de extensión.
De ahí vino él, se buscó creo con los de la OEA y de ahí vino el proyecto para acá, para Judá. Y fue que lo dieron el terreno y lo dieron todo que era mano de obra y el material para hacer las casas que están ahorita. Y por ese motivo estamos aquí viviendo todavía.
We make small advances from day to day, whether it's organizing community contacts across the adjacency line, teaching music, building a school, or coordinating between the two countries' armed forces. We are constantly present, working on the implementation and execution of confidence-building measures. With the support of the OAS, we truly believe that Belize and Guatemala are closer than ever to finding a permanent solution to their centuries-old conflict.
Children will be children, and they have harmony. They don't see each other as a different country, but they see each other that they're growing together.
Esta organización es el guardián regional en defensa de la democracia, la libertad y los derechos humanos. Los países se han comprometido con estos valores a través de instrumentos legales como la Carta Democrática Interamericana, la Convención Americana de Derechos Humanos y todas las demás convenciones interamericanas. Nuestro trabajo es mantener los más altos estándares. Debemos ser objetivos, analizar los hechos, denunciar cuando veamos corrupción, inequidad o amenazas a la libertad. En esos casos no podemos ser neutrales.
More than 100 years since the inauguration of this building, the OAS headquarters, our institution still brings together the peoples of the Americas to address our responsibilities as a partnership of nations. As we look to the future, our work must also focus on the construction of a positive agenda that continues to favorably impact millions of lives every day.
You, but we cannot see you.
Okay.
Development cooperation has always been a priority for the OAS. The OAS SETI works with all member states to identify common challenges and define solutions through policy dialogue, which is transformed into action through technical cooperation initiatives. Policy dialogue is central to our work in development. The OAS SETI convenes development leaders in 11 ministerial meetings and high-level processes on priority areas such as competitiveness, labor, education, among others. Technical cooperation initiatives emerge from ongoing dialogue and are therefore established with built-in political support. All of our actions place people at the center, generating a multiplier effect in the region. We enhance human capacity by working with key stakeholders. This strengthens institutions, improving policies and programs, benefiting millions of people in the Americas. Our ability to deliver results relies on broad collaboration.
Argentina, Bahamas, Barbados, Belize, Bolivia, Brazil, Canada, Colombia, Costa Rica, Dominica, Ecuador, Estados Unidos, Grenada, Guatemala, Guyana, Haiti, Honduras, Jamaica, Mexico, Nicaragua, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, Dominican Republic, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, Trinidad and Tobago, Uruguay, and Venezuela. And we have quorum, Chairman. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Secrétaire Général Adjoint. Bonjour, chers collègues. J'ai l'honneur de déclarer ouverte.
Good morning, colleagues. It is my pleasure to call to order this meeting of the Permanent Council, in the course of which as Luis Almagro will be sworn in as Secretary General of the Organization of American States after his re-election at the 54th special session of the General Assembly, which was held on March 20th, 2020. Distinguished Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General, distinguished permanent representatives, distinguished permanent observers, alternate representatives, ladies and gentlemen. For me, it is a great honor as chairman of the Permanent Council and permanent representative of Haiti to chair this special session of the Council, during which the Secretary General of the Organization of American States will be installed and sworn in for his second term. The re-election of the Secretary General has enabled us to verify once again that our organization applies to the election of its highest level leaders, the same democratic norms that it recommends in the Americas. It is the first time in our history that the swearing in of the Secretary General has taken place at a virtual special session of the Permanent Council. We are experiencing exceptional times because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And exceptional moments in the life of nations call for exceptional institutions and leaders at the urging of citizens who expect so much from democracy and from governments locally, regionally, and nationally, and likewise from in the system of international relations, governments observe the increasing expectations of a roadmap that might be offered by multilateral organizations such as the OAS. The OAS is fully conscious of the enormity of the challenge that we face. For this reason, it is of the greatest importance to recall at this time that the Permanent Council on April 16th last adopted Resolution CP Res 1150/20 and CP Res 1151/20, in which the organization has established the major lines of its way of proceeding in the face of this crisis. Not only do these resolutions reflect the profound concern of the unprecedented impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the societies and economies of the Americas, but they also underscore the importance of a hemisphere-wide solidarity and cooperation, and likewise the importance of considering the adoption of different approaches for all those populations that are facing vulnerability and risk. Moreover, the efforts are aimed at facilitating favorable conditions of credit, on lightening fiscal problems, and on granting the member states the financial capacity they need to address it. These needs have been recognized at the heart of the international crisis, the most important, which is the greatest crisis of our time. The Permanent Council has asked the General Secretary of the organization to continue working with all relevant actors so as to mobilize a hemisphere-wide response that is appropriated and supported, particularly efforts deployed by member states at the national scale to address the economic, health, and security impacts of COVID-19. It is undeniable that we are going through a situation that has huge impacts on all areas of human life, and the disruptions of social life, which have impacted the international agenda. We are certain that the OAS, under the guidance of Secretary General Luis Almagro, will be up to these challenges. Distinguished Secretary General, at this time, you are one of the main assets of our organization. The success of your term will be the success of the OAS and of all the member states of the organization. We would like for your term to be successful and fruitful in these times of great difficulties. We want the OAS to contribute to the resilience of our societies in the face of the current day challenges and their consequences in the short and medium term, with respect for democracy and human rights, accompanied by integral development and multidimensional security. For me, it is an honor to initially declare the installation of the Secretary General of the Organization of American States for the 2020-2025 term. Dear permanent representatives, permanent observers, ladies and gentlemen, in keeping with Article 108 of the OAS Charter, the General Assembly, at its 54th special session, held on March 20th, 2020, has re-elected Mr. Luis Almagro Lemes as Secretary General, conferring upon him the great honor and privilege to serve for a second term. In the name of the Permanent Council of the Organization of American States, it is my honor to declare that Mr. Luis Almagro Lemes has been installed to the post of Secretary General of the Organization of American States. Secretary General Luis Almagro, please accept my words of congratulations, as well as those of the members of the Permanent Council. We wish you the best of success in performing your functions. I now am honored to give the floor to the Secretary General of the OAS. Secretary General, you have the floor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I accept the congratulations, and I accept the responsibility of continuing to carry forward the work of the Organization of American States in this second term at the helm of the General Secretary of the organization. The OAS was originally the Pan-American Union, taking on the challenges of the 21st century, is today the organization that is the principal political forum of the Americas, and in the OAS, one debates the main problems and issues facing the region. The OAS continues revolutionizing actions, mechanisms, formats, languages, and diplomatic practices, which perhaps were unthinkable not long ago in the framework of the multilateral system. We will continue our work. Now, I say I am government and I am opposition. My mandate will be more rights for more people, closer to the day-to-day work of the General Secretary of the OAS, and in terms of what the inter-American law should be. We're going to bolster the modernity of the OAS with clear objectives in the political and democratic agenda of the region. And we must also make an additional transition as an organization. No one was prepared or could have foreseen or forecast the COVID-19 crisis and its impact on other pillars: democracy, rights, security, development. Our way of taking on the structural challenges such as poverty, inequality, challenges to public order, political stability, institutional strength, and separation of powers is more relevant than ever. The crisis has brought about social and economic vulnerabilities and vulnerabilities with respect to the operation of institutions, and it makes us think about what is most fundamental, which is the solidity of our political foundations, the solidity of our countries as fundamental instruments for development and the well-being of our peoples, which is the objective of our work. In this second term, we should consider democracy normal as the political system for the hemisphere without any discussion about it, without any exceptions. It is already contemplated in our norms. The Inter-American Democratic Charter says that democracy is a right of the peoples of the Americas, and the states have the obligation to promote and defend it. Since we emerged in independent life, we have practically been democratic nations. Democracy is part of our national identities. Freedom is our essence more than on any other continent, more than in any other hemisphere. I would aspire that at these moments of crisis, we reaffirm our fundamental principle of fighting for democracy. We can see swings between left and right, between one party and another, normal alternation of power, which is healthy for any democracy, but we must not allow for the dualities between democracy and dictatorship. Let us maximize the strengthening of democracy, social inclusion, and support for the most vulnerable populations, vulnerable to poverty, injustice, and discrimination. We must continue working in tandem to ensure the financial and administrative stability of the organization with efficient, austere, and transparent administration, as has been done and which we need to improve. More rights for more people, because that is the main drama in our hemisphere. To carry the burden of the most repulsive ignominy of being the most unequal region of the world, because we don't all have access to the same rights. Not all have had their fair share corresponding to our efforts and our resources. The OAS has to be the voice of the voiceless, of the oppressed, of those who suffer discrimination. It has to be the voice of the poor, of the Afro and indigenous population, of women, the LGBT population, the disabled, those who suffer rare diseases, all of those who suffer discrimination and inequality. The structural problems facing the hemisphere relate to the four pillars of the organization. We need to foster good practices and fight bad practices in terms of development, security, rights, and democracy. We're going to deepen our work for regional political stability, which is crucial for development. We will continue working to strengthen democratic institutions. They are essential as implements for the security and development of our peoples. The OAS should work more forcefully than it has thus far to seek better levels of education, quality, inclusive, equitable education. We have technological, social, we are behind in these areas in the hemisphere. Innovations and training, job training, training instructors, providing contents, citizen education, and promoting multilingualism. Nonetheless, the first big challenge that we face this time is to help the governments and peoples of the hemisphere address the COVID-19 virus, an invisible enemy that does not recognize borders and that crosses economic and political borders. Our efforts are focused on that at this time to emerge successfully from the pandemic. We require the unity of all the countries, the solidarity of all the communities, and the volunteer efforts of all of our citizens. This is a responsibility of all. Unity is crucial so that in the summits of the G7 and G20, we can go forward with real steps to promote development of the hemisphere. We need an OAS that is more radically feminist, with all rights for all women. No one can allow themselves to be overcome by the virus of panic today. action is necessary, and the OAS should be an example of this in order to go forward. We need to work because we need to produce food, medicines, services, financial services, security. And this implies a cross-cutting, understanding the cross-cutting nature of rights. We need to preserve each of the economic, social rights, civil and political rights of our peoples. This makes it such that all policies must be cross-cutting. Transparency must also be totally cross-cutting, not only in the public sphere, but also the responsibility that emerges from companies, workers, the responsibility of each of our peoples. Other challenges that we have in the face of this pandemic is the authoritarian regimes digging in and organized crime trying to find spaces for their operations. We have political and resources and legal resources, so we also need to bolster our capacity to negotiate and forge consensus in the OAS, consensus for action, not inaction, consensus to achieve results, not to come to a standstill, consensus to do more, not to do less, consensus to go forward in principles rather than eroding them, consensus for defending political prisoners, not ignoring them, consensus for protecting those who have been tortured and not just abandoning them to their fate, consensus so that there is not impunity for crimes against humanity or for corruption, and not consensus to not get involved in those areas, consensus around democracy, not around dictatorship, consensus for development, not bad practices that lead to humanitarian crisis, consensus around human rights and not regimes with political prisoners and persons tortured, consensus around security and not criminal ties of the state with drug trafficking and corruption interests, and dialogue, a political dialogue, always. We are not, and we need to fight dictatorships. If everybody likes them, fine. If nobody likes them, fine. Likes it, fine. As I said on March 20th, I am the Secretary General of the 35 countries organization. Nobody can walk away with their hands empty if they need the General Secretary of the OAS. No state, no people, and none of the 35 countries.
Array of the capabilities of the General Secretariat supporting the resilience, building measures of Caribbean member states whose development have been severely disrupted by the onset of this pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, the region was anticipating modest but positive economic growth, but it is now faced with declines or contractions averaging 30%. This kind of contraction would be difficult for any developed country, but for a region with inherent vulnerabilities like the Caribbean, it is an almost unsurmountable challenge. With the start of what is expected to be an active Atlantic hurricane season only days away, we begin to appreciate the enormity of the challenges of this region as it seeks to build its resilience to these shocks. In a scenario such as this, the merit of the OAS as an institution for hemispheric cooperation and solidarity is stronger now than ever before. In this regard, I call upon the international financial community to assist the region in reducing its vulnerability and increasing its resilience to external shocks, and to adopt vulnerability and resilience indicators in assessing the eligibility for concessional financing and the restructuring of debt. We need a new Caribbean paradigm. We are going to deliver it. We don't have money for it. But those that have money have not been helpful either. Those organizations that have money have not been good at helping you designing the policies for development or for the elimination of poverty. The failure then has been double: incapacity to resolve the issues, incapacity to properly address the issues, plus doing so spending valuable financial resources, making the financial convergence not in the countries of the hemisphere, but the institutions themselves. Miramos y nos falta todo todavía: infraestructura, interconectividad, el desarrollo.
We look around and we still see that we need so much interconnectivity, infrastructure, and we need to work with the workers and the employers to create the jobs and of the future, products of quality, services, and so much more. And by the way of value added, we need to supplement our capabilities and experiences so that regional cooperation in the Americas can represent a model of growth and integral development, a valuable and strategic asset in investing in institutions and capabilities for innovation, entrepreneurship, intelligently and actively. In particular, there's a need for measures for structural change in the productive matrix through a strategy of diversification, particularly diversification of exports towards products of greater value added, more technological content, and more economically complex. And we need a policy to boost this. Latin America and the Caribbean have a bit more or a little bit less, have so many years of lost production. We are at the level of development we are at despite the resources we have, despite the work of our people. Let us work to make that move to sustainable development that we need so much, strengthening democratic institutions with initiatives that support transparency, accountability, and the anti-corruption effort. As a countryman from my country said, the homeland is dignity going up, joy coming down. We need to conquer more and more rights for more and more people with each passing day, because this means more peace, more sovereignty, and more justice. That is the essence of multilateralism, and that is the raison d'etre of our organization. I thank all of you. I thank President Duque for nominating me, each of the foreign ministers who came to the Permanent Council, to each ambassador who has promoted my candidacy, everyone who raised a challenge to my candidacy in this area or any other area, because this has been fundamental for us to all try to be better. And I thank the service staff so much for your dedication and professionalism, and all those who made possible the Special General Assembly in the best conditions of health and security that could be organized. Many are vulnerable population, those who have had to continue doing other work outside of the OAS in order to keep going in the times of pandemic. To them, my gratitude, my affection, and my work. To close out, I would like to name one name above all that I wanted to mention, Elisa Luz Diaz. A huge kiss to say everything that I wanted to say. We keep walking.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Secrétaire Général, de partager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary General, for sharing your vision for the Organization of American States with us. I now have the offer of offering the floor to delegations who wish to comment. I would like to offer the floor to the permanent representative of the United States, Ambassador Carlos Trujillo.
Good morning to all. On behalf of the United States, I would like to congratulate Luis Almagro on your re-election as Secretary General. We look forward to working with you and your partners in advancing OAS objectives in democracy, human rights, security, and economic prosperity for all Americas. Secretary General Almagro, your re-election affirms that even in the most challenging of times, our hemisphere remains steadfast in safeguarding our shared values. As we overcome the threats posed by COVID-19, the people of our hemisphere face other challenges, such as the full restoration of democracy in Nicaragua and in Venezuela, adhere to free, fair, and credible election processes in Guyana, and holding the Cuban regime accountable for its malign activities. We're also confident that under your principled leadership, OAS initiatives will continue to bolster resilience, strengthen democratic governance and human rights, and bolster economic competitiveness, security, and development in the region. To quote Secretary of State Michael Pompeo, with Secretary General Almagro continuing at the helm, I am confident about the future of the OAS and of the Americas. Congratulations, Secretary General.
Merci, Ambassadeur Carlos Trujillo, pour
very much, Ambassador Trujillo, for those remarks. I now offer the floor to Ambassador Solano of Costa Rica. Ambassador, you have the floor. Thank you very much, Chair. Costa Rica would like to express its congratulations to Mr. Luis Almagro Lemus, our dear friend, on the beginning of his second term as Secretary General of the OAS. During the last 5-year period, Luis Almagro worked tirelessly so that the OAS could take on the leadership that it needed to defend democracy and human rights for all in the hemisphere. The hemispheric challenges at the beginning of your second term include the COVID-19 pandemic. We need renewed hemispheric leadership with security and solidarity, and we believe that the Secretary General will carry the organization forward in a way that is required in order to respond to the pandemic, as well as promote democracy, human rights, sustainable development, and hemispheric security. We would like to reiterate that you have Costa Rica's support for all of these efforts going forward for the hemisphere. Congratulations once again, Secretary General, and thank you. Thank you very much to Ambassador Solano for those remarks. I now offer the floor to Ambassador Jose Bosa of Peru. Ambassador, you have the floor. Thank you very much, Chair. Peru would like to congratulate Secretary General Almagro on his second term and wish him the greatest success in executing his responsibilities. This is an incredibly difficult time. The pandemic requires tremendous efforts from the Secretary General, from the organization as a whole, and from all of us. As time goes on, we are seeing the real dimensions of the pandemic, loss of human life and resources. The OAS must lead countries through this global threat that knows no borders. The Secretary General is the one who must respond in an effective way to this challenge. We, as an organization, will benefit from your leadership. States are subject to more pressure and fewer resources, yet we must move forward to address these economic challenges, while at the same time protecting rights and democracy so that we can still experience some growth during this time. This is an unprecedented crisis that the Secretary General is facing, and we know that the Secretary General will use his very best qualities to address this. The government of Peru is committed to unequivocally supporting the Secretary General's leadership. We must cooperate more and better as a whole to address a challenge and a threat that does not discriminate. It affects all of us. And that is why we must all cooperate and work together. Secretary General, you can count on us. Thank you. Thank you very much to Ambassador Bosa of Peru. I now offer the floor to the Permanent Representative of Honduras, Ambassador Luis Cordero. Ambassador, you have the floor. Good morning, Chair, colleagues, and all. Allow me to express to the Secretary General, Luis Almagro Lemus, our sincere congratulations and our support to him in his second term as Secretary General of the Organization of American States. We also support his entire team and all of the delegations, and we wish you the greatest success in executing your responsibilities. The Secretary General has made tremendous efforts to promote and strengthen democracy in the region, and he has also worked to protect and promote human rights and has taken a strong stance on all pillars of the OAS. We would also like to underscore the need to redouble these efforts to address the priorities established by member states. We cannot deny that there have been difficult times, but we believe that through dialogue and trust in the actions that have been taken, we will reach solutions. We see that there are commitments that have been made, and we all recognize that. We believe that the Secretary General will achieve these objectives as he carries out his new term. We know that he has addressed challenges in the past successfully and has created an organization that is more robust, and it is able to carry out its important mission while dealing with scarce available resources. That is why we reiterate our interest in supporting the organization as led by the Secretary General. We believe that his vision will lead the organization where it needs to go and will make the OAS more indispensable and more relevant. Honduras commits to supporting the Secretary General's work and the work of all organs of the OAS, so that the organization can continue to be a benchmark for other international organizations, especially in the new international context of the pandemic. We also believe that it is fundamental that we work together to set up mechanisms and achieve more agreement and less divergence. We must also address the new dynamics that are in play. Efforts must be made collectively for greater coordination, dialogue, a rights-based approach, transparency, and accountability. We hope that the Secretary General will always remember these priority principles in developing new proposals. Secretary General, we wish you great success. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for those words to the Secretary General. I now offer the floor to the Permanent Representative of Canada, Hugh Adsett. Ambassador, you have the floor. Thank you very much, Chair, and good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Secretary General, for those words and for your commitment to the hemisphere. I would first like to sincerely congratulate you on behalf of Canada on your re-election and official swearing in today as Secretary General of our organization. Personally, I very much appreciated the kindness that you offered to me in Washington when I arrived last year. I look forward to constructive work, and I know that we will work closely together over the next few years. It goes without saying that your term is coming at a critical time and a time of tremendous challenge due to the pandemic. For Canada, we know that the pandemic offers challenges, but also opportunities. And we hope that this shared adversity will bring us all closer together and will make the OAS a stronger and more resilient organization.
Produce the collective leadership that our region needs, protecting the vulnerable, defending democracy and human rights, including the rights of women and girls, who once again are bearing a disproportionate burden in the current context, are at the heart of what the OAS is placed to do. And these are points I know that you spoke to this morning as well, Secretary General. We salute you for convening the Joint Summit Working Group to facilitate coordination amongst the key multilateral actors involved in the COVID-19 response. These are signs of an organization focusing on its strength, which is exactly what Canada thinks is in order in the circumstances. The pandemic calls for concrete action and solutions when it comes to these issues and other issues, including integral development and the security of our region. We are confident that you will bring the leadership and energy required to move these files forward during your second term. We very much hope to work closely with you and others on fostering greater dialogue and cohesion amongst member states, continuing the modernization of the OAS's internal management practices, and achieving meaningful results over the course of the next 5 years. I suspect that in your busy day, you don't have a lot of time to watch very many movies. But perhaps in closing, I could point out some that you might have a look at. The Godfather 2, The Empire Strikes Back, Goldfinger, all good examples of where a sequel can often be even better than the original. Congratulations, Secretary General. Canada is with you. Thank you.
Merci à l'ambassadeur du Canada. Maintenant, nous accordons la parole au représentant.
Thank you to the Permanent Ambassador of Canada. I now offer the floor to the Ambassador of Brazil. Good morning, Chair, Secretary General. Brazil celebrates the beginning of your second term. Seeing Luis Almagro leading the OAS, his candidacy since the very beginning was a display of his unequivocal commitment to freedom over the past 5 years. And he has helped place the OAS back at the center of the main discussions on democracy, and the OAS is more relevant because of it. The Secretary General has decisively helped strengthen the inter-American system. Now our organization has the ability to support member states as they address tremendous challenges, such as the recent COVID-19 pandemic. The OAS is a forum for dialogue and for sharing best practices and for discussion to lead and to find solutions that benefit our countries and populations, based, of course, on the 4 pillars of the organization. Chair, Secretary General, this is an unprecedented crisis that is affecting our society, and it is here for some time. That is why it is essential to have leaders that are up to the challenge and that are able to address current and upcoming challenges. The Secretary General is up to that task and can lead the OAS while promoting democracy, human rights, integral development, and multidimensional security on the continent. Mr. Secretary General, Brazil is fully committed to that work during your term over the next 5 years. I now offer the floor to the permanent representative of Chile. Ambassador, you have the floor. Thank you very much, Chair. On behalf of the government of Chile, we offer our sincere congratulations to Secretary General Luis Almagro on his re-election. We wish him and his team the greatest success in today's world, which is requiring a great deal of all of us. It is very rare in our history to have seen a time like this. The pandemic and the subsequent economic crisis requires all of us to set new objectives and allocate different resources. The OAS is familiar with this situation. The pandemic has created new challenges. The Permanent Council is holding virtual meetings, and that in and of itself is a testament to how much things have changed. However, we are still based on 4 pillars which guide us, and we are still a political benchmark for the hemisphere. We know that commitments and courses of action must be taken to address this crisis. It is clear that applying these principles is extremely important. What we cannot do is forget about them. Chair, Chile is firmly committed to the OAS as a meeting place and a place for political debate that is inclusive and highly relevant. Democracy, security, development, and human rights are the at the heart of our concerns as countries. The current situation and its consequences highlight the importance of the well-being of our peoples. Secretary General, please accept our congratulations, our support, and our wish for a successful term to the benefit of our continent. Thank you. Thank you very much to the Ambassador of Chile. I now offer the floor to Ambassador Alejandro Gomez of Colombia. Sir, you have the floor. Thank you very much, Chair. Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General. Secretary General Luis Almagro, if I may, I would like to express on behalf of the government of Colombia and President Iván Duque our sincere congratulations on your swearing in to your second term as Secretary General of the Organization of American States. The OAS will be what member states wish it to be. We must have a realistic vision, and the effectiveness of the OAS must be reflected in a committed administration, one that is committed to the priorities that member states have set. This is where the role of the Secretary General comes in, and you, sir, represent the respect that we have for the values enshrined in the OAS Charter and in other inter-American instruments. The 2015-2020 period was one where you were able to address attacks from all sides while promoting the pillars of the OAS. And what we see on the continent is a clear reflection of your work and your commitment to human rights, which we have seen be violated by existing dictatorships in the hemisphere. President Duque, since the beginning of his term, has acted decisively and has brought the region together to address this situation and has supported your re-election for the 2020-2025 period. Your leadership during political crises, especially in Venezuela, has given legitimacy to this hope and aspiration. Secretary General, you have continued to support democracy, and the OAS is committed to human rights and has the tools that it needs to promote cooperation for security and to act more decisively against organized crime and to coordinate mechanisms that lead to greater development and less inequality and poverty. With regard to development, President Duque has promoted entrepreneurship and has also promoted private sector initiatives within the inter-American system to promote the design and implementation of appropriate policies to formalize entrepreneurs in order to address inequality and improve productivity. The OAS is a hemispheric organization and exists not only because of geographic reasons, simply because we are on the same continent. We are together because we share the same values that we are committed to carrying out in practice within this political forum where we take on legally binding obligations as well as responsibilities that allow us to act based on what our societies need and not only on geopolitical concerns. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for those words. I now offer the floor to the Permanent Representative of Grenada, Ambassador Smith. Ambassador, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chair, and good morning. And not to take anything away from this auspicious occasion, permit me to extend my country's solidarity with the peoples of the Americas during this turbulent times. Our sympathies go out to those among us and those who are viewing and listening who have lost loved ones to COVID or who are caring for family members affected by COVID. But Chair, on behalf of my foreign ministry and the government of Grenada, my delegation joins those before me who have spoken in congratulating Dr. Luis Almagro Lemes as he begins his second term at the helm of this organization. Sir, the significance of your leadership during these times is not lost on us. In the midst of this health and economic crisis, my delegation and the organization at large expects you to lead from the front. As you alluded, the fallout of this pandemic would leave the region reeling for some time to come. We have witnessed tremendous loss of lives and livelihood across this hemisphere and the world over. But for small, vulnerable states like Grenada, economic growth means everything. And needless to say, we have lost all the gains we have made over the last few years, and those were attained through sacrifice and prudent fiscal management. As you alluded as well, sir, the pandemic has brought to light many of the imbalances that exist to the detriment of small states. Where there is no lack of decisive or proactive leadership in the CARICOM region, the deck is stacked against us as we attempt to access credit and concessionary financing. Countries like mine have had to borrow under unfavorable terms and conditions to provide a stimulus package for failing industries, impacted sectors, and a vulnerable population, while at the same time we witness the increase in expenditures to mitigate this disease. My delegation pledged your support to the General Secretariat under your guidance, and we hold you, Secretary General, accountable for the leadership of this organization, and we will demand from you a meaningful and continuous engagement, not just as a sub-region, but throughout the hemisphere. My delegation thanks you, sir, for using your good office to bring visibility and awareness to the vulnerabilities of the countries of the Caribbean region. Understanding, as you said, that the recovery, sustainability, and the development needs of the region must be addressed immediately. Chair, my delegation has the expectation that the OAS will seek to continually collaborate with regional and international bodies. And as a wise woman once said, she articulated in her vision for the OAS an enhanced capacity for the OAS to dialogue with other regional integration mechanisms and international bodies. Chair, it would be remiss if this delegation did not take the opportunity to express the desire to see a conscious and collective effort to facilitate the development that the citizens of this hemisphere expect and deserve. We hope, Mr. Secretary General, that in addition to institutional strengthening, the organs and entities of this organization will ensure that the post-COVID dialogue addresses psychosocial support for individuals and communities coping with the aftermath of this pandemic. My delegation congratulates you, sir, and hope that over the next 5 years, through your leadership, a partnership will be forged that will truly advance the shared prosperity of all peoples, steadfastly upholding the mandate of the provision of more rights for more people. I thank you and congratulations.
Merci beaucoup à l'ambassadrice de la Grenade. Maintenant, la parole est accordée à l'ambassadeur Carlos.
I thank the Ambassador of Grenada. I now offer the floor to the Ambassador of Ecuador. Ambassador Hativa, you have the floor. Can you hear me? Yes, we can. Thank you, Chair. On behalf of the government of Ecuador, I am pleased to wish Secretary General Almagro the greatest success during his second mandate as Secretary General of the OAS. He was reelected in March, and my country enthusiastically supported his reelection, as did our president. This is an exceptional time and requires critical work so that we can move forward. Therefore, the work of the Secretary General reflects who we are as an organization, and we hope that the future will bring us even closer to the populations of the Americas. We will work together to ensure their greatest well-being. The COVID-19 pandemic and its devastating effects on the lives of our peoples have upset the agendas of our governments and at the international level, including the agenda of the OAS. There are economic and social repercussions without precedent. We need a good dose of hemispheric-wide solidarity, and we must remain committed to fighting the pandemic and its impacts on individual member states. Your role, Secretary General, is significant so that the intergovernmental mechanism enshrined in the OAS Charter and led by the Secretary General is able to achieve its primary objective and provide a response to the needs of our nations while giving priority to development and, as you mentioned, more rights for more people. Many activities are underway within the Secretariat, and these require greater coordination from within the OAS, but also with other hemispheric and international bodies. In our view, this work cannot be limited. There needs to be firm leadership in order to promote all measures and to continue to promote human rights. Your support during the first term was key and gave the OAS more credibility and relevance. We have withstood the test of time and demonstrated great resilience. The OAS is unique. It brings together Latin America, the Caribbean, and North America. The pandemic affects all of us, and it is up to the Secretary General to mobilize us and to create unity within this family of the Americas in order to overcome the pandemic. The Permanent Council approved a resolution on April 16th, unanimously. At the same time, my government believes that there are structural challenges that the coronavirus has accentuated, and it is important that we address these within the OAS from an administrative and financial viewpoint and make sure that our proposals are well suited to this new reality. We need to have greater coordination within the Permanent Council and the General Secretariat when it comes to establishing the objectives of the organization. We must take a broad viewpoint in order to address the many challenges we are facing in this century. We must also assist vulnerable groups that are the most at risk and therefore must continue to promote integral development within states, because we will continue to see these today and in the future. There are tremendous expectations, but we trust in you, Secretary General. We trust in your administration, and we know that you will take clear and decisive measures. Today, more so than ever, we need a robust, united organization. Dear friend, we believe that your renowned capacity for leadership, as well as the experience of your first mandate, will guide us. And we offer you our very firm support. Thank you, Chair. I thank the Ambassador of Ecuador, and I now offer the floor to the interim representative of Uruguay, Fernando Sotelo. Sir, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. La delegación de Uruguay desea.
Thank you very much, Chair. Uruguay would like to note that it is very pleased that this special meeting has been convened for the swearing in for the second term of our colleague and compatriot Luis Almagro. Our most sincere congratulations to him. Uruguay noted early on that support for the Secretary General reaffirms our commitment to the inter-American system, to democratic values, and human rights. In a world context in which the relevance of multilateral institutions has been called into question, as a country, we state and we commit to continuing to work in such forums and to work to promote the principles of universality, equality, and non-discrimination. In this regard, we note that in the organization in coming years, we hope that issues that are dear to Uruguay and the region continue to receive attention, and we offer our support and our collaboration. The international order should be based on institutions, rules, always mindful of human relations, where the content matters, but so do forms. Mr. Chairman, we understand that as of the situation we face with the COVID-19 pandemic, we must be more aware than ever of the many issues that are posed in our time and the new challenges facing us and the organization. Therefore, there's a need to continue putting priority on international solidarity at the same time, as in connection with the OAS and in line with what we stated a moment ago. We must recall that the OAS was founded in order with the objective of, as Article 1 states, of bringing about an order of peace and justice among the members, fostering their solidarity, their cooperation, and defending their sovereignty, territorial integrity, and independence. So we certainly hope that this path of cooperation among the member states will continue to be our key vector, a key guide. Finally, we wish you the best of success, Secretary General, both for going forward with the work in the critical context that is our reality today, and for each of the challenges that you will be facing in the next 5 years in this lofty position. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I now give the floor to Ambassador Gustavo Tarde. Ambassador, you have the floor. I have a problem with the camera. I'm not sure what's happening. I'm going to try to fix that. Can you hear us clearly? Yes. Well, I think I can speak off camera then. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for giving me the floor. I'd like to begin by recalling that in May of 2015, Secretary General Luis Almagro, when he took office initially, said, and I quote, "In 2020, at the end of my term, the OAS should be recognized as the hemispheric political forum which, with the equal participation of every country of the Americas, works in a climate of peace to strengthen democracy and protect human rights, give impetus to integral development and multidimensional security so as to support prosperity and opportunities of progress for all." We will be, our lemma will be more rights for more people in the Americas. That purpose was not just a matter of rhetoric. It has been carried out. But it's not been easy, nor has it been absent of polemics, as generally happens when one puts forward basic convictions and one seeks to resolve the problems accordingly. The arrival of Luis Almagro in the office of Secretary General of the OAS in 2015 meant that this forum, with all the nations of the hemisphere, became the center of discussion of the hemisphere's real problems. The new Secretary General promoted a debate on the defense of democratic values and human rights, drawing on all legal tools available to the organization, innovating mechanisms to fight corruption, mismanagement, and public policies that impoverish peoples, trafficking of persons, mistreatment of women and minorities, the massive violation of human rights, and crimes against humanity that are committed in some countries. Luis Almagro took on the defense of Venezuelan democracy and denounced the dictatorship. From early on, he warned of the accelerated deterioration and humanitarian crisis looming over Venezuela. The 4 reports drawn up in 2016-2017 noted the rupture with the democracy, the immolation of the right to universal suffrage, and the disappearance of the rule of law. He convoked experts to draw up a report in the course of a year on crimes against humanity and sent this to the International Criminal Court and got 6 member countries of the Rome Statute to sign it. Secretary General Almagro took on the defense of democracy in every country at which it is at risk, not just Venezuela. We could also mention Nicaragua, Cuba, and Bolivia. Luis Almagro has shown the way, and he has done so with great force and conviction. He now has the challenge of continuing, and 2 characteristics will prove essential, 2 characteristics of his personality that I'd like to note. Courage and being principled, sticking to principles. Both need to go hand in hand in order to make sense. Mr. Chairman, the exercise of the Office of Secretary General of the OAS at this time of pandemic and political crises is going to require great courage, great conviction, and a huge sense of responsibility. We are convinced that Luis Almagro is the right man in these difficult times in which we live. It'll be up to him, as he just said with respect to the OAS, to be the voice of the voiceless in these times of struggle, virus, pandemic, of the fight between life and death, well-being, and penury. I cannot fail to mention Venezuela. For the last 20 years, we have been waging a difficult and bloody struggle between democracy and dictatorship, between human rights and repression, between corruption and Republican honesty, between demagogy and responsibility, between courage and fear, between upstanding men and those who have hinges in their backbones. So having the firm, constant support and oftentimes critical support of Luis Almagro is a privilege that we Venezuelans will always remember. In the name of the legitimate government of Venezuela, I convey words of congratulations to Luis Almagro and our wishes for the best success in the new term that begins today. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you very much, Ambassador. I now give the floor to the permanent representative of Bolivia, Ambassador Jaime Aparicio. Ambassador, you have the floor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, distinguished Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General. On behalf of the government and people of Bolivia, I would like to convey to you, convey to Secretary General Luis Almagro congratulations on assuming the position of Secretary General once again, and I would like to thank him for his friendship and his support in these recent months. It is undeniable that you have made the OAS into a relevant political forum. You've accepted the risks of according priority to the principles of the OAS over and above the comfort of simply seeking a consensus among members that would never arrive. You've had an ethical view of the OAS in turbulent times of populism and tyrannies that put an end to the democratic consensuses that began in the first decade of this century. And that is the path for the OAS to continue being a vital organization. The OAS is an organization that has the political and moral competence involving in that task the other specialized organs of the inter-American system. We have the tools for fighting the germs of authoritarianism, but also it has the political authority to convene the organizations of the system to act effectively and in a coordinated manner in fighting the pandemic, and particularly in supporting providing support in the context of the financial crisis that it's going to bring about and that it is bringing about. We cannot forget about the injustices that you have referred to, inequity in the region, and fight those inequalities that make us the most unjust region worldwide. No one will be able to say that the OAS turned its back on the peoples fighting for their freedom in Nicaragua, Venezuela, Cuba, or Bolivia. That is why Bolivia also thanks the Secretary General for having prevented the consummation of electoral fraud in my country. This has costed, and it will cost, as it is costing my country, the attacks of a powerful and well-financed international ideological apparatus. The OAS has found its identity and its purpose in these years, and the relevance that it has taken on in these times should be useful in this difficult international juncture of finding, on the one hand, coalitions for coordinating international cooperation in the face of the pandemic and its many implications, and on the other hand, carry out a political reflection on the design of a new hemispheric architecture in the new scenario that has been imposed by the pandemic. It is necessary to go forward implementing public programs and policies in the areas of justice, drugs, security, institutional transparency, electoral oversight, prevention of natural disasters, and others. And it is also time for us to think about how the OAS can intercede so that the financial agencies will cooperate with the states of the Caribbean and the most fragile economies of Latin America to emerge from this crisis with a sustainable and significant project. Today, everything seems incoherent and confusing. The region will be very hard hit economically and socially by the impacts of the pandemic, and we're going to have to reflect on profound moral, social, and economic issues which are going to mark our societies and the inter-American system itself in the years to come. Today, more than ever, Secretary General, we need ideas. Ideas are what has moved the world from the time of Greek democracy and the great schools of philosophy. Today, more than ever, the OAS must have ideas to recoup a unifying vision of our experience and of our future in the region. In the current circumstances, the OAS's leadership role in the inter-American system and its role of generating ideas is the value added provided by our organization. We are experiencing times of great uncertainty. That is why it is necessary to reflect and to design an architecture that pulls together the new variables of technology, ecological imbalances, fragility in the face of biological threats, financial cooperation, and the unquestionable role of value of education and public health. A new regional project must answer to the trauma that we are all suffering worldwide today. Otherwise, Secretary General, the abysm between the rational and the spiritual, the universal and the particular, other dualities will be ever more profound. We need to reflect on new keys for the Americas and ensure what Havel called the survival of a civilization that is at the same time global and clearly multicultural. The new scenario that will emerge from this tragic time will only be viable if it occurs mindful of the permanent values of humanism, solidarity, and the preeminence of human dignity and individual liberty above and beyond any ideology. Today, we are all responsible for that new world that will emerge from this pandemic. You can count on my own personal support and the full support of my government in this new term, and I join you with our colleague from Paraguay and our dear friend Lisa. Thank you so much, and thank you, Chairman. Thank you so much, Ambassador Aparicio, for your words. We now give the floor to the permanent representative of Barbados, Noah Lynch, who is also the chair of the CARICOM caucus ambassadors. You have the floor.
Mr. Chairman, thank you to the Assistant Secretary General and of course to the Secretary General at this very important time. I speak on behalf of the government and the people of Barbados, but I'm sure that my sentiments will also be echoed by members of the CARICOM caucus. It gives me the greatest pleasure to congratulate the Secretary General of this august body, His Excellency Luis Almagro Lemes, on his re-election to this critically important and globally respected and recognized position for a second five-year term. The Secretary General comes once again to this position at a very crucial time in the development of the OAS and an unprecedentedly difficult time for all member states of the hemisphere, even the developed countries of this region. Barbados takes the opportunity to pledge our full support for the Secretary General and for the organization that is the OAS. The OAS continues to be a powerful voice for the people of the hemisphere. Concomitantly, the OAS is a powerful global voice for all people everywhere, seeking to ensure that their democratic rights are fully observed and respected. Building on the pillars on which this organization was founded, it is critical that we ensure that all four pillars are given equal consideration in the plans and the programs of this body. Whilst respecting the fact that the OAS is primarily a political organization, fundamental, however, to this imperative of observing all four pillars must be the reality that the development pillar must be accorded more specific attention and resources. In recent time, this has not been the case. There can be no democracy without development. There must be more attention paid to the needs and the rights of smaller members in this organization. Multilateralism is intended to give all of us equal voice and vote, and we must ensure that this principle is observed and respected. As such, we must ensure that small island developing states are not marginalized in the midst of our operations. Finally, Mr. Chair, we again pledge our support to working with the Secretary General, even in the midst of this COVID-19 crisis. This crisis has exposed the huge gulf between so many countries in this hemisphere. It is imperative that the Secretary General and the OAS add its voice to seeking social and economic assistance for all lesser developed members of this organization at this time. We must jettison from the multilateral landscape this skewed metric and false notion of categorizing so many of our countries as middle-income states and middle-income nations, and as such excluding them from concessionary resources, particularly in difficult times like the one in which we now live. Never before have we been in such dire need of global assistance. The OAS must continue to add its voice to this conversation and seek to create a new global movement for equality. All of this has happened, for example, of what happened at the beginning of the past century when the United Nations and the Bretton Woods organizations were formed. Universality and not discrimination is what we need at this time. What we need is not just the rhetoric of global solidarity. We need a global coalition for action that supplies resources and new terms for the engagement of these small island developing states. Mr. Chairman, the OAS's voice and presence is critical in this fight. We again pledge our full support to you, Mr. Secretary General. We wish you only the best in your second term, firmly grounded in the reality that we must continue to fight for more rights for more people. Thank you, sir. I'm obliged to you.
Thank you, Ambassador, for your.
We now give the floor to the permanent representative of Paraguay, Ambassador Elisa Ruiz. Ambassador, you have the floor. Thank you very much, Chairman, in this day of the month of May, Luis Almagro is beginning his second term. My delegation would like to mention how pleased it is to participate in this special session of the Council where Luis Almagro is being sworn in as Secretary General of the OAS for the next 5 years. We share with the Secretary General his struggle for liberties throughout the hemisphere, where we hope that he will continue insisting on the return to democracy and respect for human rights in some countries of the hemisphere, particularly Venezuela and Nicaragua. We also consider it essential to safeguard more than ever the financial stability of the organization, particularly in the face of the consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic in the member states. My delegation will support any initiative by the Secretary General that seeks ways to prudently manage our budget. Finally, I wish success to dear Luis Almagro in the challenge of consolidating the principles that have been enshrined in the inter-American system. My country will be by your side at all times in defending the peoples of the Americas, promoting more development with social inclusion. Therefore, you can rest assured that you have the full support of my delegation. And here, I would like to make a personal comment. The OAS is part of my life. My diplomatic career I unfolded at this organization. Luis, I ask that we look for the way with every state for the summits of the Americas to come under the structure of the organization. I am convinced that the OAS, more than any organization, has the political capacity to define public policies. It is our duty to create a bridge between the brothers and sisters of the Caribbean and the international lending organizations. The OAS has the political capacity, but we don't have the financial capacity. And after this crisis, this will be all the more the case. This is reality that we need to bear in mind. Therefore, the truly effective mandates that our presidents can give these financial organizations are crucial in order to shore up democracies in our hemisphere. And all of the colleagues on this, I love all of you. You're not going to be able to get rid of me easily, and we'll see you in the next term, and a big kiss. I'd like to thank our Dean, as Ambassador of the OAS. Thank you for your remarks and your wishes. I now give the floor to the Ambassador of El Salvador, Lorena Sol de Pool. You have the floor. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay? Distinguished Secretary General Luis Almagro, I would like to first of all convey fraternal greetings on the part of our Minister of Foreign Affairs, Alexandra Gil Tinoco, and convey her congratulations to you and the congratulations of our delegation as you assume your second term today at the helm of this important hemispheric body. We are certain that in these difficult times for the region and for the whole world, your leadership will provide wise direction to the organization today and in the future with permanent threats to democracy and security, and now, on top of it all, the impact that we're all suffering from the COVID-19 pandemic and its medium and long-term repercussions in the areas of health and economic security that we must address on a priority basis. Exceptional times a call for exceptional leadership. This is why we recognize the swift response that the General Secretariat under your leadership has devised in the current circumstances from the different secretariats and areas of work, adapting processes, promoting the sharing of successful experiences among the member states, coordinating processes among the international mechanisms and other international organizations, and formulating recommendations for the member states for addressing the present and future challenges. The crisis such as we face today is also an opportunity for adaptation and change. Therefore, the next General Assembly will represent a unique opportunity for the Organization of American States to reposition itself, reinvent itself, and strengthen its role in support of the member states, hand in hand with the permanent observers, organizations of the inter-American system and the international system, and all other development partners. We also recognize that it'll be a difficult 5-year period for the organization in financial terms. And so more than ever, we need effective and transparent administrative processes, results-based management, accountability, and optimal use of resources, prioritizing the needs of the states and avoiding duplication of effort. In this new stage, El Salvador reiterates as a friendly country our strong backing for your leadership. We will continue deepening cooperation with and carrying out the work of this multilateral organization in order to attain the key aims of democracy, human rights, security, and development. Secretary Almagro, we wish you the best of success as you begin your new term at the head of this organization, knowing that you will be able to firmly conduct the new work of the OAS in these complex times in which your experience will make the difference. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ambassador. We now give the floor to the permanent representative of Guatemala, Ambassador Rita Scioli. Ambassador, you have the floor. Thank you, Chairman. Guatemala is pleased on this, on the aim of this that brings us together in this virtual session of the Permanent Council, in which Dr. Luis Almagro is installed for a new term as Secretary General of the Organization of American States for the 2020-2024 period, in the context of a pandemic that could never have been foreseen. My delegation notes the heartfelt congratulations by President Alejandro Giammattei, his and the Foreign Minister. Congratulations to the Secretary General upon this new designation, and reiterates the confidence that the General Secretariat under your leadership will direct all efforts with a genuine sense of American solidarity, committed with no exceptions to the promotion and defense of democratic institutions with respect for individual liberty and social justice, based on respect for the basic rights, basic human rights, as set out in the OAS Charter. Chairman, we are going through a health crisis and humanitarian crisis without precedent that is going to the heart of the societies of our hemisphere and the world. Serious consequences with social and economic impacts that have changed the course of humankind in the short, medium, and long term. We have agreed with the Secretary General that this reality will pose major challenges for the 4 pillars that guide the work of the organization: democracy, human rights, multidimensional security, and integral development, a pillar that stands out in the context of this crisis and that will require special attention. There cannot be democracy without development, as has been noted. We share in the belief that these pillars will continue in relation to this crisis, being the best instruments and points of convergence for attaining the benefits for and the well-being of our peoples. Each plays a fundamental role, and their value and relevance in this new situation is proving every day to be indispensable. These challenges thus call for leadership from the member states of the OAS to continue strengthening the political forum that the organization offers. And so we, sovereign states, have set out our commitment in the resolution that contains the OAS's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, which was adopted last 16 April. We now have the opportunity to continue working in a coordinated manner with Secretary General Luis Almagro, with all of the staff of this organization, to support the states and with each and every relevant actor of the inter-American system. We are convinced that the new period of the Secretary General at the helm of the OAS in these new circumstances, well, that there will be continuity on the key issues that affect our hemisphere. We are certain that the Secretary General will continue to promote representative democracy and will continue accompanying and supporting elections to be held in coming years. Your commitment to democracy is unyielding. We know that very well. We know that work to protect and promote human rights must continue, to particularly address migratory flows in the hemisphere in the various expressions. These are persons who are especially vulnerable. Attention for food and nutrition insecurity as vulnerabilities that should be accorded priority as obstacles to integral development of all peoples. Also, the multidimensional approach to security continues to be fundamental, and likewise, the fight against transnational organized crime. Guatemala trusts in Secretary General Almagro's experience to see to it that the organization will continue to favor and strengthen its mechanisms to prevent and fight corruption and to accompany member states in efforts to cooperate for institutional strengthening, for open government, and access to public information, which are key in the institutional handling of this pandemic. We also highlight the impetus that has been given to the special missions carried out by the General Secretariat of the organization, and in the context of peaceful dispute settlement, the importance of the OAS in the Belize, Guatemala border. Well, this is also essential, and it's essential that it continue work to fight the pandemic in the context of confidence building measures as between both countries. Secretary General, Guatemala trusts that under your leadership and your known commitment, the OAS relevance will continue to be strengthened not only for the Americas, but also for the projection of the Americas on the world stage. We believe that you should continue consolidating the OAS as the most important political forum in the hemisphere based on consensus among its member states and the desire to live in peace and to foster improvement of our countries. We also highlight the need to have a single joint voice, a common united voice to coordinate all efforts of a response to a hemisphere that is very exposed with installed vulnerabilities in economic and social terms, with populations living below the poverty line, with profound inequalities that we must address together, mindful of the dimension of each of these issues. Secretary General, you are up to the challenges that face us. You have a robust organization and the participation on an equal footing of each and every member state of this organization. You know that you can count on Guatemala, which will join these initiatives of solidarity. Thank you very much.
L'ambassadrice pour ses propos. Maintenant,
Thank you very much, Ambassador. I now give the floor to the Ambassador of the Dominican Republic, Josue Fialo. Sir, you have the floor. Thank you very much, Chair. ambassadors, interim representatives, Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General, delegates, alternates, and observers. On behalf of the government and people of the Dominican Republic, we express our solidarity with all those who have suffered from the effects of the pandemic, and we express our condolences to those who have lost loved ones. Secretary General, today is a special day for this organization, and particularly for you. On behalf of the government of my country, my delegation, and on my own behalf, please accept our congratulations on your second term as Secretary General. We wish you and we reaffirm the support of our government in maintaining the historic ties of friendship that we've had with the OAS. We can hear you, Ambassador. The historic ties of friendship and cooperation that we have had with the OAS, these have been deepened during your term. Your doors have always been open, and your team has always been willing to help us, and we appreciate and thank you for that. As our Foreign Minister recently said, our continent is facing new challenges, and now more than ever, we need to strengthen multilateralism. You, Secretary General, are the individual in whom most member states have placed their trust, and that is a lot. Priorities are changing, and our approach to address these priorities must be re-examined. We know that you will rise to the challenge of this global reality. Your leadership in light of challenges to democracy and your promotion of respect for human rights, your promotion of cooperation throughout the hemisphere, and your support for regional development inaugurates a term that is full of possibility. The first challenge we must address is the pandemic. We have been able to maintain this organization's operations to benefit our countries and our populations. This is the fundamental priority that the organization must address with actions that are required of this type of organization so that we can ensure that individuals remain healthy despite the unprecedented interruptions to daily life. We must also create a new dynamic to address the unequal process of distribution of wealth within our hemisphere. Many of the gains that we've made in the area of human development are threatened or will at least experience some setbacks. We must mitigate the impact on health, protect individuals, and promote our productive systems. Secretary General, finally, the Dominican Republic is ready and willing to continue working with you in a constructive way to strengthen the OAS. You have the decisive support of our government and our people. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for those words. I now offer the floor to the Permanent Representative of Panama, Ambassador Maria Roquebert. Ambassador, you have the floor. Thank you very much, Chair. On behalf of Foreign Minister Ferrer and our government, we congratulate Secretary General Almagro on his re-election. Assistant Secretary General Nestor Mendez, congratulations also to you. Panama values the platform of infinite possibilities that the OAS offers for our region in each of the four pillars: democracy, human rights, integral development, and multidimensional security. All of us agree that the OAS at this time of crisis is even more relevant. We are aware of the need to carry out joint action for our nations through regional cooperation and It is through this organization that we must do this. This is the second term of the Secretary General, and as he recognized, it will start with the need to address the pandemic in a differentiated way. That is taking into account the various ways that sectors and populations, especially vulnerable groups, are affected. And we must make sure that these gaps do not increase. We must focus our efforts on the idea that we need more rights for more people. And now, more than ever, we need multilateral action. And our forum is emblematic for dialogue and must promote action within our countries. We must also ensure that all efforts aim towards ensuring more rights for more people. Secretary General Almagro has advocated for a radically feminist OAS, and we also believe that the OAS during this 5-year period must be relevant not only to move forward, but also to limit the possible setbacks that are starting to emerge. Secretary General, we would like to reiterate the support of Panama. You can count on my mission to address the challenges ahead. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ambassador. I now offer the floor to the permanent representative of Belize, Francisco Daniel Gutierrez. Ambassador, you have the floor.
Chairman, colleagues, Assistant Secretary General, Secretary General, Secretary General Almagro Belize congratulates you on this, your second term at the helm of the OAS. We note, sir, what you said in reference to the vulnerability of the subregions, both the Caribbean and Central America, to devastating storms and other forms of natural disasters. We join my colleague, His Excellency Ambassador Lynch, and welcome with enthusiasm the need for a renewed engagement with the Caribbean in reference to the dysfunctional way in which the global financial community treats with so-called middle-income yet small and vulnerable states. I echo the sentiments of my colleagues from Guatemala, and I say, sir, that this hemisphere continues to benefit from your wise, measured, and important presence in the Belize-Guatemala border zone work. For this, we are grateful. Belize looks forward to the next 5 years. Thank you, Chair.
Merci beaucoup, Ambassadeur.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. I now would like to offer the floor to the permanent representative of Mexico, Ambassador Luz Elena Baños. Ambassador, you have the floor. Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, colleagues, Secretary General. At the beginning of your second term as Secretary General of the OAS, Mexico would like to reiterate its tireless commitment to multilateralism and to the organization and prioritizing international law and guaranteeing human rights for all individuals. There is a wide range of member states in the OAS that have differentiated needs, yet they all share aspirations and interest in addressing shared challenges. That continues to be the guiding thread of our relevance in this forum. Mexico is firmly committed to international law and to inter-American standards in order to improve the lives of our societies. In light of the challenges that we are facing related to the pandemic as well as other new ones, Mexico, as has been seen in the history of the organization, will continue to promote the strengthening of dialogue as the main tool for our peoples, with responsibility and commitment to seeking solutions in a peaceful and sustainable way. We need a Secretary General who works and strives to achieve these objectives and aspirations. For 5 years, you have shown this to the organization, and all elements are there to address the responsibilities that you have. Mexico will continue to honor its own responsibilities in a constructive fashion, working for the dignity and well-being of the most vulnerable people, because the organization is financed through public resources, and therefore its work must benefit the inhabitants of the hemisphere. We need a Secretary General who is able to take on these responsibilities and who is part of the solution and who works to achieve consensus as one of the best practices of multilateralism worldwide. We need a Secretary General who is up to the challenge of the current challenges that we are facing today during this historic time. We need a Secretary General who remembers that he serves the interests of all member states and that it is his moral duty to work for peace and understanding among them. Mexico will tirelessly support this new term, which shall give priority to consensus and which will respect all member states, so that the organization can honor the best practices of responsible multilateralism based on inter-American standards that we have built collectively. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much, Ambassador. I now offer the floor to our permanent observers, and we will start with the permanent observer of France to the OAS, Ambassador Anne de la Blache. Ambassador, you have the floor. No audio for the speaker. The interpreter notes that there is no audio. Hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes, we can. Good, thank you. I don't know if my camera is working. No, it doesn't seem to be. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why the camera's not working, says the speaker. But in any case, thank you, Chair, for giving me the floor. Secretary General, allow me to congratulate you very warmly on your second term and to wish you the greatest success at the helm of the OAS. I would also like to congratulate Mr. Nestor Mendez, who was reelected as Assistant Secretary General. Secretary General, in the Caribbean and throughout the continent, France is present and particularly sensitive to the challenges that the hemisphere is facing and is also directly affected by the challenges there, especially during this pandemic. More than ever, we firmly believe that these shared challenges can only be resolved together in a global, multilateral fashion with solidarity. Secretary General, I would like to reaffirm France's commitment in this context to the OAS in support of your efforts to strengthen democracy and human rights on the continent. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for those remarks to the Secretary General. I now offer the floor to the Permanent Observer of Italy, Ambassador Simone De' Santi. Ambassador, you have the floor. Chair of the Permanent Council, Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General, ambassadors, I would like to express Italy's sincere wishes for success at the beginning of the second term of Secretary General Almagro and Assistant Secretary General Mendez. Italy is joined to the Americas through deep economic and political ties, and also a deep sense of friendship. Italy has had a strong relationship with the OAS, which has been strengthened in recent years, thanks also to important actions carried forward by the Secretary General, along with all member states, for a greater inclusion of permanent observers in the work and activities of the organization. We trust that this collaboration will continue to be fruitful and will become even stronger during your second term. In all of the OAS pillars, democracy, human rights, security, and development, we also hope that collaboration between the OAS and the European Union, and Italy as one of its founding members, will continue also to be strengthened with new vigor, so that we can use the energy of multilateralism and peaceful resolution of crises that are still ongoing, and so that we can provide a multilateral response to shared challenges such as the COVID-19 pandemic, which we are all experiencing, and we know that there's a need for strong solidarity. There's a need for strong collaboration between the OAS and the EU, which was seen yesterday at the International Conference of Donors to address the Venezuelan issue with migrants and refugees. 40 countries were present, and we know that many countries are taking in and protecting these refugees. We are very grateful for the opportunity to continue working together, given the role that multilateralism must play at every level, especially here at the regional level through the important work that the OAS is doing, and which Secretary General Almagro will now have the privilege of guiding during his second term. Congratulations again to you, sir. Thank you very much to the Permanent Observer of Italy. I now offer the floor to the Permanent Observer of Spain. Madam Ambassador, you have the floor. Thank you very much, Chair. The mission of Spain would like to congratulate Secretary General Almagro on being sworn into his second term. We would also like to congratulate the Assistant Secretary General, Mr. Nestor Mendez, and of course, reiterate our firm support for this organization and to all member states. Thank you very much. No microphone for the chair. Ambassador, your microphone is muted. My apologies. I now offer the floor to the Permanent Observer of the Holy See, Monsignor Mark Miles. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, my delegation gladly extends to His Excellency Luis Almagro the warm congratulations of the Holy See as he officially begins his second term as Secretary General of the Organization of American States, and wishes him all the best in his continuing work, while assuring him of the support and cooperation of the Holy See and of this observer mission. And I likewise express hearty congratulations to Assistant Secretary General Nestor Mendez. I should also like to take this opportunity, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, to express the solidarity of the Holy See with the entire organization in its efforts to help member states face so many pressing and urgent challenges. Humanity is seen at its best when it is united, and the work of this organization over the last few weeks has brought that reality to the fore. Since the beginning of this outbreak, Pope Francis has asked peoples and governments at every level to help those who are forced to bear the highest cost of this situation, such as migrants, displaced persons, those who work in the informal economy. In a recent message he wrote, "Only when the contribution of everyone, even those groups so often underestimated, can we face this crisis. Only with that contribution." Mr. Chairman, the Holy See and the Catholic institutions throughout the American continent are determined to cooperate at all levels with international organizations and national governments, uniting efforts in the fight against this pandemic and in rebuilding our societies in a more equitable and sustainable form. My delegation once again congratulates Secretary General Almagro. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Merci beaucoup, Monseigneur, pour ces propos.
Much, sir, for those remarks. We now offer the floor to the permanent representative of Switzerland, Ambassador Philipp Hessler. Sir, you have the floor.
Secretary General, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. In the name of the Swiss government, I would like to extend my gratitude to you all for this opportunity to take the floor as a permanent observer state on the occasion of the swearing in of the Secretary General. We congratulate Secretary General Luis Almagro on his second term. Much in line with the core principle of OAS, namely democracy, has the Secretary General by a clear margin obtained from the member states a second mandate to represent this eminent organization. In these unprecedented times, we have to deal with the manifold ramifications of a global pandemic, which exacerbates all existing risk factors and fragilities. The OAS was quick to virtualize its activities, and its member states have hastened to agree on hemispheric collaboration across the board. Multilateralism remains a key approach in confronting the multidimensional and transnational challenges. At this critical juncture, effective leadership is now more important than ever. Switzerland considers the OAS a crucial organization for the Western Hemisphere, a region with which we share various common values and interests such as democracy, human rights, rule of law, and integral development. Switzerland will continue to be an engaged observer state, looking to actively contribute, be it through participation in election observation missions or a joint project with the OAS. Switzerland wishes you, Secretary General, much success in carrying out your mandate. Thank you.
Merci au représentant de la Suisse.
Observer of Switzerland, I now offer the floor to the permanent observer of Japan, Mr. Hayashi. Permanent observer, sir, you have the floor.
Representative of Japan, could you please request the floor again? Now you have to activate your camera and your microphone.
We can hear. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, and I'd like to express my sincere congratulations to Your Excellency, Dr. Luis Almagro Mendes, and has been re-elected and, of course, sworn as the Secretary General of the OAS for the second term. And for Japan, this hemisphere is a major force that shares fundamental values such as democracy, human rights, and more. The importance of OAS to promote these fundamental values in the Americas remains the same. Japan highly appreciated Secretary General's tireless effort to address as a defender of the fundamental values to to the challenges in which the basic fundamental barriers are threatened in the region under the slogan of the more rights for more people. We would like to continue to expect your strong leadership you did during the first term. With the spread of the COVID-19 infection in the world, this hemisphere is no exception. The law of the OAS will also grow under this difficult situation. Under Secretary General Almagro, we expect this hemisphere to continue to be stable based on the 4 pillars of human rights, democracy, integral development, and the security. As for Japan, we will support the efforts of the OAS, and I would like to actively cooperate with your effort in order to make the relationship even closer. Once again, congratulations to the Secretary General, and I wish you great success and good luck. Thank you.
Merci à l'observateur permanent du Japon pour ses propos.
Thank you very much to the Permanent Observer of Japan for those remarks. I would like to thank all delegations for having kindly made these remarks on the occasion of the swearing in of the Secretary General. I would like to thank everyone who attended this special virtual meeting. Thank you for accompanying us in declaring the official beginning of the new term of the Secretary General of the OAS. Secretary General, congratulations, and we wish you great success. As there are no further items on the order of business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.